Chapter 6. Paris, December 1998. Jules carefully takes the letter from the bottom of the drawer where he had hidden it. When they first met, he had found the words to express his bewilderment, his utter bewilderment at having met her at that point in his life. And he had told her. How on earth had he dared to do such a thing? Had it been madness? Had it been love? Would he have written that letter today if they had met in the same way? And the courage, the desire, the burning need to spend his life with her, would they have been as strong? Why had it come this far? How had they reached this point? What centrifugal force had drawn them apart after they had done everything, including the impossible, to be together? Was it the children? Their work? The mere fact of living under the same roof and unable to stand each other anymore? An unfathomable sense of nostalgia suddenly overcomes him as he remembers their youth, their good looks, the innocence of their love when they first met on that particular day. Why does he always return to that moment when they recognized each other and said nothing because it was neither the time nor place? Their affair had caused so much pain and turmoil. They'd had to overcome so many obstacles and survive so many trials. Will this be the last one? He folds the letter up and hides it at the bottom of the desk drawer again. He doesn't want Alice to see it and take it back. This letter is a relic, he thinks, evidence, the vestige, a monument. All that remains of their first encounter, bearing testimony to their love for each other. Have you thought about how we're going to divide everything up? Alice asks, appearing in front of him as he slams the drawer shut. It's already winter, and she's wearing the jeans she likes to pair with a wool sweater and ankle boots. Her hair is up in a messy bun, as she likes to call it. She looks tired and isn't wearing any lipstick or makeup. Her skin is pale, her face drawn, and her eyes teary. They decorated the open-plan living dining room with a large sofa, armchairs on either side, a frosted glass table that Jules made himself, and all manner of objects that he chose, one by one. Some they had picked up at a Sunday flea market in Saint-Ouen, pictures of Parisian streets, the ones they used to often walk along hand in hand. The Pont Marie on a foggy autumn morning, and the buildings with high windows looking down over the Seine. The Odéon Théâtre, where they had seen plays, the Rue de Rivoli, that the wild group of rollerbladers take over on a Friday night, music blaring. What happened to those long walks along Paris's bridges and along the banks of the Seine, crossing from one side to the other, heading towards the Eiffel Tower through the city's gardens? From the left bank to the right bank, the hidden paths through Montmartre, those dark, narrow streets, picturesque and majestic. The Quai des Célestins beneath the arches of the Palais Royal, the booksellers on the banks in April or May with their books and posters on display, or the Blomet swimming pool in the 15th arrondissement with its booths around the pool, where they used to swim for an hour. The Sundays, when it was nice weather and they would take a picnic to the Ile Saint-Louis and eat lunch beside the water, next to the Bateau Mouche, like a Parisian postcard. And, of course, the Jardin du Luxembourg, where they like to go for a walk, in any weather, in love, for fun, for nostalgia, for the feeling of being in the countryside, for the green chairs, for the dreams and conversations. So many memories. Emilie is in her room, sprawled out on her bed, listening to her Walkman. She has papered the walls with posters of her favorite pop stars, Madonna and the Spice Girls. In Alexandre's room, the electric train set has been replaced by an electric turntable he got for his 20th birthday that he uses to play Michael Jackson and David Bowie records. At the end of the hall, there is a large, square room that has been painted white, the master bedroom. They have added a bed covered with a piece of blue fabric from their trip to Naples, a walnut wood desk full of books and trinkets, a stone from the Berlin Wall, and 2 nightstands piled high with magazines and books. How long has it been since they last embraced in this marital bed? Since he had touched her, looked at her, kissed her? What had happened to those embraces when they gave themselves to the other, that magnetic, sensual relationship, that feeling that life had meaning, substance, was real? They had once delighted in their names, jumped to answer each phone call, looked at each other, hands entwined, discovered each other and caressed each other with a gentle strength. And that passion that had swept up their bodies when they were entwined, thirsting after the other. The pleasure in being together, contemplating each other, thinking they were one in the same flesh, of being wanted, transcended, pierced like it was the first time, suffering when apart, ecstatic when together. The burning desire, lost through routine and the wear and tear of time, perhaps through living together, had been replaced by the minor fixations of life together that irritate and annoy. Jules gets up early and makes noise, which wakes up Alice, who needs her sleep, an otherwise insomniac who roamed the house at nights, eats, reads, and does the chores. She has low blood pressure, struggles to get up, and suffers from dizzy spells. Jules, hyperactive and suffering from high blood pressure, can't bear doing nothing, doesn't like vacations, can't stay in one place, and always has to be doing something, even during the summer. Jules interrupts Alice in public, and vice versa. Sometimes they complain to each other about this lack of respect in front of their friends and family, which makes everyone feel embarrassed. Jules doesn't like being contradicted and gets angry. He often launches into lengthy lectures full of judgment in front of everyone and listens to himself talking, which annoys Alice. She has stopped eating meat and has a strange relationship with food. She has a phobia of swallowing, which prevents her from eating pieces of food that are too small or stringy, and from taking pills. Meanwhile, she drinks wine every day, gets drunk, and starts talking very quickly, going off on tangents and sometimes becoming aggressive. Jules hates seeing her like that. Jules had mood swings. He can go from laughter to tears in a fraction of an instant, which is unnerving. You never know which foot you're on with him. Alice is uncommunicative. A dreamer, she escapes into her own world. Jules is so demanding when it comes to decoration, about the lights and paintings, that they end up leaving the walls blank and not doing anything at all. Jules is very sociable, constantly making new friends, but does he have any real friends? He's close to his brother Maurice, and Paul, of course, but Alice doesn't get along with Paul's wife, Marie-Claude, at all. When they meet up, she pretends to be interested in her, but deep down, she's bored. Alice doesn't have any brothers or sisters and is solitary, almost antisocial. Jules is extremely meticulous and can spend an hour getting dressed, picking the right colors and fabrics. He finds it hard to decide in shops. He always wears the same suede jackets that Alice thinks is ridiculous for his age, like other clothes he can't bring himself to get rid of because he can never throw anything away. Jules always forgets Alice's birthday, which annoys her, and he doesn't give her gifts anymore, which makes her sad. On the other hand, he wishes Happy Mother's Day, which gets on her nerves. Jules doesn't have a good relationship with his father, Joe, who has become crabby with age. They fight often, which upsets Alice, who has lost both her parents. When he takes a shower, Jules floods the bathroom, yet he's obsessive about tidying up. Alice leaves her things lying around the apartment. She's clumsy and breaks tableware every week. Jules never does grocery shopping, and the only time he fetched the children, the supervisor at the school refused to give them to him because she'd never seen him before. Jules changed the car, buying his dream car when he signed a big project, a Jaguar Daimler 66, though he won't let Alice use it because he says she drives too fast. In reality, he thinks she's a bad driver, given the number of cars she has sent to the wrecking yard. It should be said that Alice is short-sighted but too vain to wear glasses. She hates planning trips, vacations, concerts, and invitations. She needs artistic license, as she calls it. She hates any kind of obligation, so they end up doing nothing. Alice doesn't like television, while Jules is hypnotized by LCI, the news channel that runs on a loop all day and regularly tunes into Julien Leper's Question pour un champion quiz show on France 3. Alice has a group of friends from the Women's Liberation Movement, the MLF, that meet every week, and others from an environmental activist group. In fact, she can't stand it now when lights are left on, when the household trash isn't sorted, when people fly, then women are breaking the glass ceiling, that their salaries are lower than men's, and that they're snowed under every day with work, children, and everything else. Jules often tells the same stories, especially to his friends, stories she knows by heart, memories from his childhood and time in the army. He's been cracking the same jokes for 30 years, word for word. Alice doesn't like cooking, but she's interested in daringly bland culinary experiences like chicken mole or beetroot soup. Every morning, Jules reads the paper, religiously. Alice is a spendthrift and buys on impulse. Jules keeps a very strict budget for household expenses, but he's a collector. He picks up everything from figurines and pens to soap, postcards, and stamps. He's interested in archaeology and brings back strange objects from flea markets in the countries he visits. He piles up books, new ones and old ones, and other things too that he locks in a secret cupboard. No one knows what it contains. He puts documents in file that he works on late into the night in there too. Every Thursday evening, he plays bridges with Paul and a few new acquaintances, while Alice goes to dinner with Auntie Josette, who lives on her own. Jules tends to complain about everything, like his father and brother. Jules and Alice don't make love very often anymore, and when they do, it lacks eroticism. It is a simple, mechanical act. It never lasts long and is routine. They barely talk to each other, don't look at each other anymore, don't spend time together, and don't have any meandering conversations anymore, apart from the one enduring topic. Cash, as he says. In those moments, she's amazed she's dealing with someone so miserly, so tight-fisted, and keen to strip her of hers if he can't possess her. She feels like she is discovering him as he is, naked and ridiculous with a tiny nest egg that he clings on to like his entire life depends on it, and deep down a new feeling is growing in her, one she has never felt before, the most fatal of all passion killers: scorn. As for Jules, he thinks it ridiculous for her to get emotional about everything, including the film Titanic, which she couldn't stop crying through. She's afraid of the future, of the impending crisis, terrified at the prospect of being fired and losing her job. Since she was hired by an economically liberal newspaper, something that makes Jules' hair stand on end, she has become aware of the crisis affecting the planet. She's afraid of rising unemployment, mad cow disease, AIDS, Dolly, the first clone chip, and all those computers that have invaded homes and are used as typewriters, but for how long? She can clearly see that they are on the verge of a radical change, a world that is transforming rapidly along with her own life. Everything she has built could collapse before her eyes like a house of cards. Her insomnia is getting worse. She's becoming aggressive, irritated, and bitter. In a cupboard, Alice has stored all the tableware that Joe gave them for their wedding: candlesticks, vases, figurines, vacation souvenirs, all the objects that are part of their life together, collected over time. Embroidered tablecloths bought at flea markets, coffee pots, teapots, old cameras, pictures collected here and there from different stages of their lives, 33 RPM vinyl by Jodassin, Nicole Croisy, Frère Jacques, Léo Ferré, Jean Ferrat, piles of DVDs and VHS of film ranging from The Young Girls of Rochefort to An Affair to Remember, along with documentaries on World War II that fascinates Jewel. She wonders what will happen to this shared property, like the lacquered wood piano that Alexandre plays in his spare time where she listens from the sofa in his lounge. And their memories, can they share those? And the children, is it possible to cut them in two, or if that's not possible, to separate them? She would take the girl and Jules the boys, or vice versa? When she had told him she was pregnant with Alexandre, he had said he was over the moon. She had smiled at the expression. She was over the moon too, and she suddenly felt much better and important for producing, through the children, plans. But she had been mad at him for his reaction when she had told him she was pregnant with Emilie. Surprised, he hadn't expressed the same enthusiasm. He had said it was too soon, that he wasn't ready, that he was working all the time and wouldn't be able to take care of her. There would be a 7-year gap between Emilie and Alexandre, and it wasn't too soon, she had replied. It was too big a gap. It had never been a deep wound at the bottom of her heart that had never healed, but rather become infected, like all the miscarriages she had that hadn't really affected Jules. He hadn't realized that this child was a miracle, the fruit of his desire. His glass perched on his nose, Jules drummed his fingers on a pile of files, concentrating. Alice stands in front of him. So, she asks, what have you decided? We'll do what we agreed. We need to clarify the situation before going to the lawyer. We need to be realistic. I don't want to end up penniless tomorrow because you decided you wanted a divorce. So to find some common ground, we'll have to resolve the issue of the apartment. You want to keep it in joint ownership? Alice asks. Of course. But you do realize that means you'll have to repay the share of the apartment covered by the loan from my father to keep your half. That doesn't matter, she says. Stop saying it doesn't matter, because we can't have a discussion like that. Okay, we'll do that then. You're okay with that? We already discussed it, didn't we? We'll discuss it again now since you haven't understood what will happen. I will give you half of this apartment, but we have to decide when and how you'll repay Joe to retain joint ownership, explains Jules. We'll repay your father, and that will be it. We'll get rent if you continue to rent it out. How will my father get his money back? Jules asked. We'll take out a loan. And how will it be repaid? He asks. With the rent, she says. And in 3 months' time, when you're fed up living on your own, you'll say what a pity it is to have an apartment that we can't use. Outrageous, actually, Alice replies, tears in her eyes as she looks at him. You've just gained an apartment. Aren't you happy? Yes, very happy. And the rest? She asks. The rest is your income for the past 3 years, anything you haven't credited, and whatever is left in the bank. What do we do with the money you received? I don't have anything left. I spent it all. But I can't end up taking out a loan on my own to live off and repay my father while you spend all the money you get, Jules says. Okay, but you know very well how much I earn and that it's not going to increase. Meanwhile, you make my hair stand on end with your complicated calculations, she says. What do you mean by that? How much do you earn as an architect? It sounds like you have a slush fund. I shall not respond to this underhand criticism worthy of the far right, which isn't surprising given the rag you work for. And what about you? How much do you spend every day at the pharmacy, in shops, on train and plane tickets that you buy twice because you got the date wrong? He snaps. If we split our assets, it'll be each for their own, so we'll do whatever we want, Jules. So we take out a loan to repay my father. But you'll start to tell me that you're giving my father money when it's the opposite. Do you understand my proposal? Of course, she replies. So we will need to agree on how to share our assets because I don't want to be the only one trying to cut back while you spend everything. How do you suggest we split everything? She asks. I don't know yet. At the moment, you don't seem to be ready to give up your money, your apartment, or the rest. When you realize how much we need to repay, you'll say it's out of the question. How much is it? Alice asks. A third of what the apartment's worth today, so that's 150,000 euros immediately. Jules gets up, looks at her coldly, takes his jacket, and leaves the apartment, slamming the door behind him. Alice is left at the desk alone in pieces. With tears in her eyes, she hangs her head in her hands in utter desperation. Is he trying to do everything he can to prevent her from leaving, or is he quite simply a downright horrible person? She finds him utterly repugnant, physically and morally. She only wants one thing, to leave. But does she really have the resource, and how can she survive on her own? Alice is sobbing when Émilie comes out of her room, slamming her door, furious. Alice doesn't have the strength to react and would rather lie low, but the young woman comes into the lounge and looks at her mother, frowning ferociously. She looks like the poster hanging over her bed of Nina Hagen, the German singer, sticking out her tongue like a raging shrew. She developed such bad acne as a teenager that her cheeks, now swollen and puffed up with candies, chocolate, cakes, still bear the scars. She announces that she has decided to go abroad for a year. She wants to drop everything, the violin and the conservatoire. She wants to escape, to take her mind off of it because she's suffocating here. Were you fighting again? But why are you still together? Émilie asks. Her dyed pink and blonde hair frames her face, and her round cheeks are contorted with anger. The young woman, dressed in whole ribbed jeans that expose her thighs and barely contain her stomach, is fuming. It's all your fault. You boss everyone around. Wear this, not that. Do it like this, not like that. I'm not a baby anymore. Even when I was small, you would put me in that horrible red bonnet, those mittens and booties saying that it was to protect me from the cold. But what were you thinking, other than how to make me look stupid in front of my friends? All you do is criticize me and tell me I eat too much, sleep too much, go out too much, and don't work enough. I think you don't love me, that in fact you've never loved me because I'm not good enough for you. You think I'm a loser. Not thin enough, not classy enough, not classical enough. All you do is shout at me, and all it does is annoy me. Can't you just think for one moment that we're having a nice time? You always have to spoil everything because you don't know how to be happy, nice, or kind. You're never pleased because you're not happy yourself. And Dad isn't the only one who is fed up with you. May I suggest you solve a puzzle? Alice says. What is the difference between your bedroom and a huge trash can? Émilie slams the lounge door, goes back into her trash can, and gets a chair to block the door. Then she gets her violin and throws it as hard as she can against the door. It explodes. Alice can feel the vibrations right to her core. Meanwhile, Alexandre has come out of his room and is watching her, a look of fear in his eyes. What's going on? He asks. Alice looks at him, 24 years old. It's hard to see his face hidden under a head of brown hair, a curly mop he doesn't want to cut, the same way he never really seems to want to work or continue his studies like his parents did. Are you leaving? You're dropping us? Who, you? Dad and us. I'm entirely devoted to you. I do everything for you all the time. Can you understand that, or do I have to remain a prisoner in this house for the rest of my life? I didn't sign up for that, to lock myself up in a cage. I need to breathe, to be free. I've given everything for you too, Alex. I gave up everything. All my ideals, and even my ideas. Which ideas? My feminist ideas. I'm at your service, all three of you. That's all I do. And my life as a woman, it's gone. I'm at the end of my tether. Where do you want to go? I don't know, Alice says. But one thing that's sure is that I don't want to stay. Your father is horrible. Well, I'm not going to disagree. He has his faults. But if you knew what I've had to put up with. I hide it all. I don't tell you anything. I protect his image. But I forbid you from talking about Dad like that. Émilie suddenly screams back for more. You're the horrible one, and you only ever think about yourself. No. It's both of us. We're both horrible. Your father and I, we can't stand the sight of each other anymore. We've got nothing left in common. We're living separate lives. Get it? I can't put up with this charade any longer. Can you imagine what it's like, not being able to stand the sounds of someone biting a grape? We're living like animals in a pack because we had children together. It's dehumanizing. We don't feel anything for each other anymore. Nothing. It's over. As she says these words, Alice can no longer hold back her tears. They roll down her cheeks without stopping. She remembers the early days when they were in love. What had happened to those eyes that shone and that carefreeness, those feelings expressed in the letter with which he had seduced her? That letter she had reread so many times that she now wants to tear up, to burn. She gets up and looks in the desk drawer. She's sure she put it there with other important papers because she had noticed that Jules was looking through her things and taking documents, photos, and even family jewelry he had given her. But she can't find it, so she tries to take off her wedding ring, struggles, and keeps trying. Her hand has thickened like the rest of her. She hadn't taken off since their wedding day, and now she can't unless she cuts off her finger. The phone rings, and Alice jumps to answer it in front of the terrified-looking Emilie and Alexandre. "Jules," she says when she picks up. "What do you want? Where are you?" "Outside in the phone booth. You can see me from the window. Look, it's me waving the telephone directory." She goes over the window and sees him waving at her. She can't help but smile through her tears, seeing him like that down there in the phone box, sheepish, looking at her, pleading. "I don't know what you're doing with your life, but I don't care," Jules says on the phone. "I love you. I want you to say I'm sorry for what I said earlier. I didn't know what to say to make you stay. I don't want you to leave, Alice." "It's too late." "What? It's never too late." "I can't," she says. "But what are you looking for? What do you want? Why are you hurting me so much?" "You're crazy," he replies. "You see, you're insulting me again. There you go again. It's all starting over again. Do you even realize? It's only because I'm strong that I hang on, because you act strangely. Not even that, you act like someone who's not well, like Josette." "Poor soul," Alice rages. "I knew you were a bastard. You know what? Go fuck yourself. You can all go fuck yourselves." "I'm sorry," Jules says, crying down the phone. "I'm talking nonsense. I wanted to hurt you. Sorry. Stay. Or leave. You can leave if you want, or go to another room or another apartment if you prefer. Let's just find some sort of arrangement. I beg you. I'm nothing without you, Alice. I love you with all my heart, with all my soul. Without you, my life is meaningless. I'll do whatever it takes, whatever you want. If you were to ask me to throw myself under a car right now, I wouldn't hesitate. That's a terrible thing to say. That wouldn't make anyone want to stay, but I don't know what to say. It's not too late, Alice. I beg you. Let me prove it to you."